Hey guys, I'm back again and I'm here to tell you all about my nonfiction list for my book club suggestions for my Normandy book club. And so let's get started because I don't want this to be too long. So the first book on the list is The Irish Assassins, Conspiracy, Revenge, and the Phoenix Park Murders That Stunned Victorian England. Okay, it says, one sunlit evening, May 6, 1882, Lord Frederick Cavendish and Thomas Burke, Chief Secretary and Under-Secretary for Ireland, were ambushed and stabbed to death while strolling through Phoenix Park in Dublin. The murders were funded by American supporters of Irish independence and carried out by the Invincibles, a militant faction of Republicans armed with specially made surgeon's blades. They ended what should have been a turning point in Anglo-Irish relations. A new spirit of goodwill had been burgeoning between British Prime Minister William Gladstone and Ireland's leader Charles Stewart Parnell, with both men forging in secret a pact to achieve peace and independence in Ireland, with the newly appointed Cavendish, Gladstone's protege, to play an instrumental role in helping to do so. The impact of the Phoenix Park murders was so cataclysmic that it destroyed the pact, almost brought down the government, and set in motion repercussions that would last long into the 20th century. Okay, I personally don't really care about this, and I wonder if in reading this, I'm really going to understand what's really going on, because this seems a very specific event dealing with specific things that I know nothing about. So yeah, I probably won't be voting for this one. Okay, now the next book on the list this is kind of interesting. It's called Admissions, a Memoir of Surviving Boarding School. Okay, so it says, early on in Kendra James's professional life, she began to feel like she was selling a lie. As an admissions officer specializing in diversity recruitment for independent prep schools, she persuaded students and families to embark on the same perilous journey she herself had made, to attend cutthroat and largely white schools similar to the Taft School, where she had been the first African-American legacy student only a few years earlier. Her new job forced her to reflect on her own elite education experience and to realize how disillusioned she had become with America's inequitable system. Okay, okay. Would I really choose this one? Probably not, because I don't have kids that could possibly go to boarding school. I'm not really sure that I would really care about reading about this topic. I think I may have enjoyed reading about this topic when my kids were younger, but nah, I don't know. Let me know if you think it could be good. I don't know. Okay, the next book on the list is The Great Train Robbery by Michael Crichton. Okay, so this one, it says, lavish wealth and appalling poverty live side by side in Victorian London, and Edward Pierce easily navigates both worlds. Rich, handsome... Oh, wait, no, this is not... Wait, this is a mistake. This is not nonfiction. This is actually fiction, so there's a problem. I missed this. So yeah, we're going to have to scrap that one. I'm going to have to make a note, because this is not nonfiction. This is fiction. Okay. All right. So anyway, we're going to go on to the next one. The next one is The Palace Papers, Inside the House of Windsor, The Truth and the Turmoil by Tina Brown. Okay, so this one that is about the royals. Here we go. Never again became Queen Elizabeth II's mantra shortly after Princess Diana's tragic death. More specifically, there could never be another Diana, a member of the family whose global popularity upstaged, outshone, and posed an existential threat to the British monarchy. Picking up where Tina Brown's masterful The Diana Chronicles left off, the Palace Papers reveals how the royal family reinvented itself after the traumatic years when Diana's blazing celebrity ripped through the House of Windsor like a comet. Brown takes readers on a tour de force journey through the scandals, love affairs, power plays, and betrayals that have buffeted the monarchy over the last 25 years. We see the Queen's stoic resolve after the passing of Princess Margaret, the Queen Mother, and Prince Philip, her partner for 7 decades, and how she triumphs in her Jubilee years even as family troubles rage around her. Okay, so you get the idea. They're probably going to talk about, Meghan Markle and all that crap. I don't know. I mean, I didn't read her first one, so this second one, I don't really care about the royal family like that. I just don't. So it's going to be a no for me, this one. All right. The next one on the list is The Black Count, which I actually have right here. This is a copy that's kind of messed up, but anyway, I still have it. It's called The Black Count, Glory, Revolution, Betrayal, and the Real Count of Monte Cristo by Tom Rice. Okay, so this says it's the real life protagonist of The Black Count. General Alex Dumas is a man almost unknown today, yet with a story that is strikingly familiar because his son, the novelist Alexandre Dumas, used it to create some of the best loved heroes of literature. Yet hidden behind these swashbuckling adventures was an even more incredible secret. The real hero was the son of a black slave who rose higher in the white world than any man of his race would before our own time. Born in Saint-Domingue, now Haiti, Alex Dumas was briefly sold into bondage but made his way to Paris, where he was schooled as a sword-fighting member of the French aristocracy. Enlisting as a private, he rose to command armies at the height of the revolution in an audacious campaign across Europe and the Middle East until he met an implacable enemy he could not defeat. This book is a book that I've been wanting to read for a very long time. Now, I used to have another copy of this book. It was a bigger, nicer copy, and it got waterlogged because it was in a box somewhere. I think it was in my garage. I had to put some of my books in my garage for a short period. And when I took them out, that copy was ruined. So then I purchased this copy, but it's kind of messed up, as you can see. It's kind of got it's cut. The cover is cut. So I've still kept this one in hopes that I can one day find another bigger copy like I had before. But this story is one that I'm very interested in reading, so I'm voting for this one for sure. Let me know if you've read this one and what you thought about it, and if you're interested in reading it if you haven't. Okay, the next book on the list is Nomad Land, Surviving America in the 21st Century. And that's by Jessica Bruder. Okay, now, this one says, the inspiration for Chloe Zhao's 2020 Golden Lion Award winning film starring Frances McDormand. From the beet fields of North Dakota to the campgrounds of California to Amazon's Camper Force program in Texas, Employers have discovered a new low-cost labor pool made up largely of transient older adults. These invisible casualties of the Great Recession have taken to the road by the tens of thousands in RVs and modified vans, forming a growing community of nomads. This one right here, I'm interested in. I think this is something that, I'm 55, so this is something that interests me, like, what is really going on in America, concerning the workforce and that kind of thing. Because I do remember the last time I was in the States, which is before the pandemic, I remember seeing loads of retirees that were coming back into the workforce doing things like receptionist work or, going and working in supermarkets as cashiers or doing stuff like, representing a company and passing out samples of food in supermarkets and stuff like that. So this was interesting to me. So yeah, I could get down with voting. How to change. Okay, the full title is How to Change the Science of Getting from Where You Are to Where You Want to Be by Katie Milkman. Okay, this sounds like a self-help book, and frankly speaking, I don't like reading self-help books. But anyway, this one is on there. It says, in this groundbreaking book, Milkman reveals a proven path that can take you from where you are to where you want to be, with a foreword from psychologist Angela Duckworth, the best-selling author of Grit. Change comes mostly readily when you understand what's standing between you and success and tailor your solution to that roadblock. If you want to work out more but find exercise difficult and boring, downloading a goal-setting app probably won't help. But what if instead you transformed your workouts so they become a source of pleasure instead of a chore? Turning an uphill battle into a downhill one is the key to success. Drawing on Milkman's original research, the work of her world-renowned scientific collaborators, How to Change shares strategic methods for identifying and overcoming common barriers to change, such as impulsivity, procrastination, and forgetfulness. Okay, so you get an idea. This sounds very self-helpish. No. For me personally, I'm not interested. And sitting around and shooting the shit at a book club about like what we could do better or whatever, I'm just like, no, I really don't want to do that. Okay. Next on my list, I have The Teenage Brain, a neuroscientist's survival guide to raising adolescents and young adults. And this is by Frances E. Jensen and Amy Ellis Nutt. Okay, let's see. This description. In this groundbreaking, accessible book, Dr. Frances E. Jensen, a mother, teacher, researcher, and internationally known expert in neurology, introduces us to the mystery and magic of the teen brain. One of the first books to focus exclusively on the neurological development of adolescents, The Teenage Brain presents new findings, dispels widespread myths, and provides practical suggestions for negotiating this difficult and dynamic life stage for both adults and adolescents. Okay, this is probably a really interesting book, like around parenting. I'm past this stage, so I don't really care. I don't remember which person suggested this, but only 2 people in the book club still have teenagers. All of us either have grown ass adults, like really grown ass adults, or young adults like in their 20s. So this teenage brain thing, I don't really care about it, but somebody might, but I don't personally. Okay, next on my list, I have Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own. Now, this is one that I have been wanting to read for a while. I have it on my list, and I think I own this book. I think it might be up here at the top. But it says, A Room of One's Own is an extended essay by Virginia Woolf, first published on the 24th of October, 1929. The essay was based on a series of lectures she delivered at Newman College and Girton College, two women's colleges at Cambridge University, in October 1928. While this extended essay in fact employs a fictional narrator and narrative to explore women both as writers and characters in fiction, the manuscript for the delivery of the series of lectures titled Women and Fiction, and hence the essay, are considered nonfiction. The essay is seen as a feminist text and is noted in its argument for both a literal and figural space for women writers within a literary tradition dominated by patriarchy. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's a short one. I think it's like only, it's like 112 pages. But this is something, yeah, that I've been wanting to read. So it'd be really cool if that went through. But for some reason, I don't think it's going to make it through. Okay, the next book on the list is called Spirit Run, a 6,000-mile marathon through North America's stolen land. So this one is by Noé Alvarez. And it says, growing up in Yakima, Washington, Noé Alvarez worked at an apple packing plant alongside his mother, who slouched over a conveyor belt of fruit, shoulder to shoulder with mothers conditioned to believe this was all they could do with their lives. A university scholarship offered escape, but as a first-generation Latino college goer, Alvarez struggled to fit in. At 19, he learned about a Native American First Nations movement called the Peace and Dignity Journeys, epic marathons meant to renew cultural connections across North America. Okay, so this is a whole idea around this marathon, and through that we're going to learn more about First Nation, families and groups. And I feel like this could be a really interesting one as well. I think it's also described as it's described as travel as well as biography, memoir, nonfiction, and sports. So this one could be an interesting read in my opinion. I'm not sure who's really going to vote for it, but if it came through, I'm not mad at it. I would actually read this one. Okay. The next book on the list is another book about brains, if you can even imagine that. This one is called Two Heads, a graphic exploration of how our brains work with other brains. Okay, this is by Uda Frith and Chris Frith. It says, professors and husband and wife team Uda and Chris Frith have pioneered major studies of brain disorders throughout their nearly 50-year career. Here in Two Heads, their distinguished careers serve as a prism through which they share the compelling story of the birth of neuroscience and their paradigm-shifting discoveries across areas as wide-ranging as autism and schizophrenia research, and new frontiers of social cognition, including diversity, prejudice, confidence, collaboration, and empathy. Okay, so this one, it's under the genre of science, but it also is under sequential art and graphic novels. So I don't know what this is really going to be like, but yeah. I don't really know. I'm not that interested in this one. Yeah, I'm just not. I'm not interested. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not interested. Okay, then we have also on the list, last but not least, we have Into Thin Air by John Krakauer, a personal account of the Mount Everest disaster. Now this one I'm definitely not voting for. I cannot stand reading things about people climbing up mountains. I don't like it. Okay? Anyway, it says, when John Krakauer reached the summit of Mount Everest in the early afternoon of May 10th, 1996, he hadn't slept in 57 hours and was reeling with the brain-altering effects of oxygen depletion. As he turned to begin his long, dangerous descent from 29,028 feet, 20 other climbers were still pushing doggedly toward the top. No one had noticed that the sky had begun to fill with clouds. 6 hours later and 3,000 feet lower, and 70-knot winds and blinding snow, Krakauer collapsed in his tent, freezing, hallucinating from exhaustion and hypoxia, but safe. The following morning, he learned that 6 of his fellow climbers hadn't made it back to their camp and were desperately struggling for their lives. When the storm finally passed, 5 of them would be dead, and the 6th so horribly frostbitten that his right hand would have to be amputated. Into the Air is the definitive account of the deadliest season in the history of Everest by the acclaimed journalist and author of the bestseller Into the Wild. Okay, so there you have it. So that's the last one. Now that's weird because there was one that snuck in here that was not nonfiction, that was actually historical fiction. So you see, people don't even know what they're suggesting. So there you have it. That's the nonfiction list. Whew, hang in there. I'll be back with the historical fiction list. Bye.